Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Pro Line. We're heading into the NBA All-Star break. You got college basketball. Boy, it's the stretch run now, the regular season. A lot of big games every day. Even the short schedules have big games. And we're here to talk about a couple of the best ones from this weekend's lineup. We got Pittsburgh taking on Marquette, a major battle in the Big East, and down in the ACC, Virginia at North Carolina. Other good stuff as well. John Cranton from Jim Feist Sports is here. Jim Feist himself is here. My name is Dave Cokin, and we are glad to have you with us. Before we get into the nuts and bolts, what we're going to talk about today, I want to talk about some offers that we've got, which I think are going to please you. And if you took advantage of them last weekend, you did extremely well. Jim, you were talking about a real rarity for you. You don't have many of these, but maybe a couple of three a month, personal elite play. It turns out to be Miami against North Carolina. I mean, you didn't even have to sweat this thing.
Well, I think you had one of those yourself the other day, Dave, with, I don't remember what the game was. I think maybe it was the Thunder in the pros. The North Carolina game, they just didn't match up very well with Miami, and I knew that going in. So I made a big play on Miami, and it came roosted, 87-61 over the vaunted North Carolina team as a 7.5-point shock. It was very easy. 2 weeks ago, I was 2-1 with my Game of the Year package. Last week, I told you about the personal elite. That came through, as I said. Get ready for another 5-play hoops countdown, including a high roller release and a conference Game of the Year. Just $25, and it comes with a guarantee. You will go 4-1 or 5-0. That's right. That's 80% or 100%, or the rest of February hoops is on me. 1-866-841-1655. That's 1-866-841-1655. And I have to mention, for free plays each and every day, just text WINNER, WINNER, to 313131. Back to you, Dave.
Jim, you mentioned Oklahoma City. That was a really big play for me. That's the one we plugged last week on the show, and that was the game against Phoenix. So they just killed them. It was a final score was 31. So that's nice. Saturday, the two big plays for me were Hawaii, which came through nice second half by the Warriors, and Missouri. So started the day off with a real big win in Missouri. They just won that game in a runaway against Ole Miss and closed it with a big win on Hawaii. The real top of the heap plays are doing really well, and I want you to get these two because they're top of the heap, okay? I've got two conference games of the month scheduled for Saturday, and I'm going to price them where everybody can afford these. $10. That's not for one of them, not each. $10 for both of them. You sign up early, I'll get your bonus play tonight. So you'll be playing with house money on these big games on Saturday. It's that easy. Really, it's that easy. Just make one phone call, spend $10, you're good. 1-866-896-1629 is the number to call. That's 1-866-896-1629. Now, the free plays, you can get those in a variety of ways, but I would suggest doing it the same way you get Jim's, and that's by texting Cokin, C-O-K-I-N, to 313131. That's all you got to do. You get back the free play on a text message. You read it, you play it, and you win it. Again, that's Cokin to 313131. All right, guys, let's start it off with the Big East, at least as it's comprised right now. We won't be seeing these matchups for much longer as that conference, as we know it, is coming to an end. But still pretty good right now. And Pittsburgh has really come on strong in the second half of the year. Dixon's doing a solid job with this club. Not a team with superstars, but they're good. Marquette, well, not real good on the road, but when Marquette plays at home, they don't lose. They're unbeaten at home. That is an intriguing Saturday matchup. John, we haven't heard a word from you since we started talking here, so we'll let you take the lead on this one.
Sure, you get two teams here, Big East teams that are really on hot runs. Pitt has won 7 of the last 8 games. And Marquette, despite that loss to Georgetown on Monday, 63-55, they still won 10 of the last 13 games. Now, this Pitt team they win by slowing the pace down and playing that rugged physical defense. They're number 1 in the Big East, allowing just 54.5 points per game. They allow 39% shooting. That's a stat I put a lot of faith in, and they're outstanding in that department. They come off that win over Cincinnati. That was a week ago, 62-52. But one of the things about that game, even though they won comfortably, Pitt was terrible from the free throw line, 18 of 27. That's been a problem all year for the Panthers. They are one of the worst teams in the Big East, shooting 66%, so they hit right their average on Saturday. And that's a concern, as this is a very tough matchup against a very deep Golden Eagles teams. As you mentioned, they won unbeaten at home this year, 21 straight wins. They're on a very nice run, 10-3. And even in that loss to Georgetown on Monday, they allowed just 38% shooting. So you're talking about a deep team with plays outstanding defense. And keep in mind, the Marquette bench is one of the best in the country with a 30 points per game average off the Pine. That's in the top 5. And that's pretty much twice as much as they had a year ago. And when I look back at that first meeting on January 12th, Pitt was a 10-point home favorite. The game went into overtime, and Marquette ended up winning. It was 57-all in regulation. That shows you it was a slow defensive game. But what it came down to was free throw shooting. Pitt was 50% for the game, 13 of 26, a miserable 2 of 7 in overtime. That's been their average for the season. Meanwhile, Marquette was 20 of 23 from the line. So the way I see this game, all the edges are with Marquette. You got the great bench. They've already won at Pitt. They got home court, and they're superior from the free throw line if it's a close game. So I think Marquette is going to win this rather comfortably, Dave.
I don't like this Marquette team. That's problem number one for me. I don't think they're very good. They can't shoot the three, and when they've gone on the road this year, they've taken some big-time poundings. I just don't see this as being a squad that's going to make any kind of a run come March, and I don't think they'll make a run in the Big East tournament either. I think they'll be an early casualty. You got the revenge on the Pittsburgh side. Panthers are playing a lot better basketball now than they were then, and their defense is tough. I think this is going to be a low-scoring basketball game. Marquette wants past Marquette squads. You look at them, but they want to get the tempo up. I don't think they want to do that against Pittsburgh, to be honest with you. And I think Peterson's smart enough not to do it. I think he's going to look at this as a game that needs to probably be played even slower than the tempo they played in the first game, where they scored 141 points. That was in overtime. I'm going to look for a low-scoring game here. Pittsburgh defense is tremendous right now. 54.5 points a game they're allowing in Big East play, which is spectacular. That's number one. Very good field goal defense. You just look at the makeup of the team. It's a gritty, nasty team. There's not a real breakout guy on this Pittsburgh squad that's going to scare you offensively. And I think they can control Marquette. And to be honest with you, listen, Marquette's done okay in that type of basketball game. You know, they won the first game around against Pittsburgh. They managed to get a home win against Georgetown in a low-scoring game. The one on the road wasn't quite that style, and Georgetown had no trouble with them at all. I think Marquette, being at home, has got to play the tempo that gives them the best chance to win. I think it will grind it out with Pittsburgh. I don't think there'll be 120 points scored in the game. I don't know what the total will be as we're recording this, but to me, unless it's a ridiculously low number, Jim, I'm going to go with the under.
Well, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with you, Dave. I mean, when you look at the stats on these two teams, as far as and I understand matchups are, dictate more than overall, but the over is 6-3 in Panthers' last 9 road games. The over is 20-8 in the Panthers' last 28 games following a straight-up win. And the over is 54-27 in the Panthers' last 82 Saturday games. I mean, they get a little extra rest. They come in. Marquette at home is very difficult to bet against. They don't lose at home. Now, granted, Pittsburgh has the revenge angle, but revenge doesn't always work. It's really nothing more than a 50-50 proposition, especially in a game where you're not really going to get any points. Pittsburgh might be a 1-point dog, a 2-point dog, or they might be a 1 or 2-point favorite in this game because Marquette just doesn't lose at home. You look at Marquette's angle here. Over is 42-18 in the Golden Eagles' last 60 Saturday games. 8-3 in the ATS in the last 11 Saturday games. 4-2 ATS in their last 6 Big East games. This is Marquette. I'm going to go with John on this as far as the side. I think Marquette's going to win the game, but not knowing the point spread, if I'm laying 1 or 2, I probably let it go. I might be getting a home dog here. The odds makers, since they made them a 10-point dog on the road, it figures there'd be a dog in this, but I don't see that. I do like it over, and I'll tell you why. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points in the game, and that might go against betting the over, but I think the odds maker is going to make the game very low. I think they're going to make it too low, and they'll maybe come in with a line that's 10 points under what it's going to probably be, but that's an over-adjustment by the odds makers. So I'm going to go with the over in this spot.
We're going to look at Virginia and North Carolina in just a bit. But before we do that, some business to take care of, and that starts first with our man on the street, Jeff Sod from LVSS. Jeff has a free college basketball total on the Saturday card. What would that be, Jeff?
Thanks, Dave. Free play coming up. First college basketball, some of the softest lines of the year, especially during the stretch run. I have a pair of college conference games of the month going Saturday, $25 a piece online, but you can get them both here for just $5. Call the LVSS at 1-866-575-8916. Free play is Saturday is in the Missouri Valley Conference, Creighton at Evansville. Powerhouse Creighton has had its struggles on the road of late, starting with that showdown loss at Wichita, 67-64. The loss the next game at Drake as a 9-point favorite, 74-69. Then last week stumbled at Indiana State, a 76-57 loss is 5-point chalk. They are likely to overlook Evansville, a team they already beat at home, but the Purple Aces are battling for a winning record and playing hard with a string of close games, including a pair of close road losses at Missouri State and Bradley, and an overtime win over Northern Iowa, as well as a big win on this court over Wichita as a +4 dog, 71-67. These teams played 2 close regular season games last year, including overtime at Creighton. Look for a huge effort on the home court. Play Evansville on Saturday. Once again, I have a pair of college conference games of the month going Saturday, $25 a piece online. You can get them both here for just $5. Call LVSS at 1-866-575-8916. Back to you, Dave.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Good luck this weekend. Our Twitter question of the week can be our Facebook question of the week as well. Follow us on Facebook, or friend us, I should say, on Facebook, at Proline TV. Or if you're following us on Twitter, do it at Jim Feist Sports. And if we use your question, you get put into a drawing to win $100 worth of plays from a handicapper of your choice. Jim Jenkins, Pittsburgh, wants to know which college coaches, he says now or retired, are the best at adapting their personnel to their team's style of play. Well, I mean, the late Rick Majerus was as good as it gets. He could win with any type of personnel. He's a genius. Frank McGuire, if you want to go back, Al McGuire, rather, if you want to go back in time. Looking at present coaches, you know, I think that some of the names are pretty obvious. Certainly Brad Stevens, when you look at what he does at Butler, it's pretty amazing. Stay in the same conference. You got Shaka Smart at Virginia Commonwealth. None of these guys at VCU are what you'd call high-level recruits. He recruits to his style, which is that I'm blanking out on what Havoc. They call it Havoc. And he gets guys who can play that style. Like Briante Weber. This guy slipped through the cracks. I think VCU is the only Division I that offered him a scholarship. If there were any others at a small level. And this guy's, he might be the 6th man of the year in college basketball. This guy's a defensive force. So you got coaches like that, but a lot of times when you end up hearing conversations about the best X's and O's coaches and the coaches who are able to do the most, it always centers around guys who aren't blessed with the best recruits. It's like you get penalized in the good coach conversation if you're a great recruiter, which is stupid, because that's kind of part of college basketball coaching is recruiting. I mean, I don't care who you are. If you recruit marginal players, you're going to have a tough time winning, unless you're playing other marginal players. So to me, you know, when Calipari doesn't make lists like this, or Rick Pitino doesn't make lists like this, or Krzyzewski, etc., I think that's dumb. They're great recruiters, and they know what they're doing as far as coaching them up is concerned. Anyway, we'll be talking about a coach shortly, however, who I think belongs on this list. I'll hold off on discussing that for a little bit. Jim, got a couple that you want to talk about?
Well, the old days, Petey Carrill. I mean, he could take that very boring style of basketball, and man, without the best players, he produced a lot of winners. He played in his own league, his own class, but he stepped out and had a lot of big upsets as well. Currently, Michigan State, Tom Izzo has a way of getting the most out of his players. Izzo his system at Michigan State it's down to a science. Only 2 Spartans have declared early for the NBA draft in the last decade, and none since 2006. Michigan State continues a run of 15 consecutive NCAA tournaments despite producing only 1 lottery pick since 2001 and no first-round pick since 2006. When you don't have those top, this is where I disagree with you a little bit, Dave. When you talk about Kentucky or Louisville or Michigan, these teams that are able to get these top players, Indiana, it's a different style of coaching when you get all these All-Americans coming in there. When you get players that are not really going to the pros, you got a lot more work to do because they don't have the natural talent. They're not going to the next level. And if they do go to the next level, they're just marginal players to begin with. So we get a guy like Izzo who doesn't have all the great players. But, man, when you look at this 15 consecutive NCAA tournaments, that's amazing. So I got my hats off to Tom Izzo for doing a great job. And just the other night, he produced a big winner over Michigan, a much more talented team. A lot of pros on that team. I don't think Izzo has a pro on his team. And if he does, it's marginal. But the other team might have 5. But he pounded them. It was a great spot for them, and they did the job.
I'll disagree a little bit with you on that because, well, hold on, because we'll get a little debate here, and then I want you to jump in. I mean, you know, it's really tough to coach these one-and-dones, especially if you've got more than one. These guys are showcasing themselves for the NBA, and they may not care as much about the team. I thought what Calipari did last year with Kentucky was spectacular, with a bunch of guys who could have easily been looking to showcase themselves individually. To me, it's a big advantage when you've got guys that stay for 4 years. You get upperclassmen. You know, look at Colorado State this year. There's no pros on that team. And maybe one guy's got a shot at being a second rounder. But that team, they're absolutely just a really rock-solid team because they've got all these seniors out there. That to me is an advantage for a coach. So I think there's a nice mix there. And another thing, you know, listen, look at Ben Holland. I mean, he keeps on getting great guys at UCLA. They're not doing anything. He's been unable to take potential one-and-done talent and mold them into a team. So I think there's an art to being able to take the great players that are recruited and get them to accept the team concept. Some coaches can do it, some can't. One guy we should mention.
I don't disagree with you, Dave. Calipari does a great job with the extremely great talent that he has, and I'm sure he'd do a great job if he didn't have that great talent. He is a good coach. I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying you take a guy like this, Izzo, who never gets that great talent, hats off to him. I mean, Brad Stevens at Butler, fantastic job. The guy at Colorado State, fantastic job. They have to work in different systems with what they got. Calipari just happens to get a lot of great players, and he does a great job with that. They're all good coaches, every one of them.
What I like, though, and this is the key, is being able to adapt to your personnel, which some coaches can't do. They coach the same system no matter what they've got there, and if they don't have the personnel to fit it, they can't win, which Izzo, by the way, is brilliant. Doesn't matter what he's got there. He'll win with anything. John, get in here.
I'll go with Lon Kruger. He's a guy, he's out with Oklahoma. I've always admired his game management skills in his matchups. I mean, 5 times he's taken over a program, and all 5 of those schools have hit the 20-win mark. And look what just happened the last couple weeks. +5 dog to Kansas, Oklahoma was. They won the game straight up 72-66. They were +6 dog at Baylor, won the game 74-71. And look for the season. Oklahoma 12-7 against the spread. So competent coaches can squeeze out, maximize efficiency, not only on the court, but with spread covers as well. That's something to keep in mind.
I think Lon's as good as it gets with X's and O's. Phenomenal basketball coach, and that's why he wins wherever he goes, despite the fact that he's not a great recruiter. You know, if Lon's got a shortcoming, he's never been able to get the super blue chip guys in there, the superstars. But boy, I'll tell you what, I'll match him up against anybody as far as X's and O's are concerned. By the way, UNLV's had they've had some pretty good coaches over the years. One of them we didn't mention was Jerry Tarkanian. He was pretty good at taking talent and molding it into a cohesive unit, and they were exciting as well. Okay, Virginia's at North Carolina. Let me jump on this one first because I think we've got a coach here who is proving that he can implement his style basically with any type of player, and they seem to adapt well to it. Tony Bennett is really good at Virginia. He comes from a coaching family, and this guy knows his stuff. I'm very impressed with this basketball team. Now, there is some talent there. There's no question about that. But they're going to play this style of basketball, and they're going to beat your brains in defensively. And you can just forget about outworking them on that end of the court. It's not going to happen. The flip side of it, you can argue, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, Roy Williams can't coach, because that's dumb. When I hear that stuff, it's just dumb. Okay, he's not a bad coach. But I think Roy Williams would fall into the classification of better recruiter than game coach. And I do think you're seeing an example of it this year with North Carolina. I would say that this team has not lived up to the level that they should be at. Now, by no means are they a top 10 team this year. They do not have among the top 10 most talented rosters in the country. They're in that next group. They're somewhere 15 to 25. But they're also not living up to that either. 16-7. Surprisingly, they're 12-9 against the spread, which is kind of shocking when you consider they really haven't looked that good for the most part. Their big problems have been on the road. They've been pretty good at home. And that's where this game gets tough, because Virginia's playing really good basketball right now. But they're still they're still a losing road team on the road, 3-4. And North Carolina, for all their issues, they're still 11-1 at home. Virginia just crushed them in the second half of the first meeting, ended up winning by 9 points, comfortable win. It's a big revenge spot for North Carolina. I don't think I'm going to get involved in this game, John, because, to be honest with you, I just don't think I want to. I know I'm not going to get the value that I need to get to play Virginia in this game. I would need I probably need like 6 points. I don't think it's going to be there. If it is, then I'll take a look. I don't think they'll get killed in this game by any means. But if it's shorter than that, and I do think it will be, I don't think I can play it because I think that North Carolina probably still going to find a way to win the game. And by the way, they need to win. Look, they're not in the tournament yet. Okay, they're not. That sounds hard to believe, but they're 16-7. You take a loss here and a couple more down the stretch, they can miss this tournament. So this is a big game for North Carolina, but I just don't like the basketball team right now. So I think I probably want to look at Virginia and don't think I'll get enough points to do so.
Yeah, the side is very difficult to call. I'm going to take a look at the total. It really comes down to who is going to control the pace in this game. Well, the first meeting, the pace was controlled by slow-down defense of Virginia. They won the game 61-52. They were a 3-point favorite, went under the total of 132. Thing is, this Virginia team, great at home, as you mentioned, but just a losing record, 3-4 away from home. And they are 14-6 under the total in road games, but also note they're not good at covering games on the road either. 3-9-1 against the spread when they go out on the road. North Carolina being at home, that's where this team loves to run with McAdoo and Bullock and Marcus Page, the freshman. Roy Williams is going to try to push up the tempo. This team averages 79 points per game. And here's the thing. They don't play much defense, this Tar Heel team, so it is tough to back them at times. They are on a 5-1 run over the total. And the last 10 meetings between these teams, 7-3 over the total. I think it's going to be a different type of tempo than we saw in that first meeting. I'm looking for a higher scoring game than the odds makers are going to expect.
Jim, how about you?
I have this note, Dave. You're going to like this. Virginia is on a 7-1 straight up run, and they're 56-2 ATS. Now, that's on my notes. So I looked at that and I said, oh my God, that cannot possibly be. Nobody's ever won 56 out of 58 games. And actually, as a It's a typo. Either on a 5-2 ATS run, which is a lot more understandable. So I kind of got excited and I said, "Oh my God, there's no way I could have ever missed that. No way."
Trend of the century.
Virginia's a slowdown team, 64 points per game, 249th in the country. Tops in the ACC defensively, 52 points per game, 37% shooting. I like the game under as well, and that's the way I'm going to go with this one.
All right, we'll get to some best bets, which can be one of the ones we talked about, or any game on the schedule. Jim, you're the red-hot guy, especially with that monster play last week on Miami. And your Saturdays have been absurdly good this season. So you've enjoyed these big cards. What do you got for this weekend, and how about a best bet?
Well, I'm going to pick a best bet out of the ones we talked about, Pittsburgh and Marquette. I believe the game's going to go over the total only because I feel the odds makers are not going to take into consideration the trends that are in this between these two teams, or not just between these two teams, but when you look at Pittsburgh's road record going over and Marquette as well, an over team, it's because of the odds makers undervaluing that. They're making the lines too low, and they're not high-scoring teams. I'm not saying that. But when the line is up there, you got to go against that line. 2 weeks ago, I gave you 2-1 in the big games, the game of the year package. Miami of Florida obviously was huge. That was my $2,000 play last week, 87-61 win over North Carolina. Get ready for my 5-play hoops countdown, including a high roller release and a conference game of the year. Just $25. And it comes with a guarantee. You go 4-1 or 5-0, or the rest of February hoops is on me. 1-866-841-1655.
John, how about a best bet from you?
I'll go with Marquette. I'll take that home court 21-game win streak, and I can see Pitt having trouble at the free throw line. Grab Marquette to keep that win streak at home going.
All right, I'm going to go. I'll tell you mine in a moment. First, let me tell you about the special offer. I think you're going to like the results on this. The special promotions I've done, they've been winning. So I'd urge you to take advantage of this. 2 really big games on Saturday. 2 conference games of the month in college basketball. $10 gets you both of the games. And if you sign up early, you get a bonus play that goes tonight. All included for $10. 1-866-896-1629. That's 1-866-896-1629. And don't forget, for your daily free play, text Cokin, C-O-K-I-N, to 313131. Old Dominion was 2-20 on the season under Blaine Taylor. They were that bad. They had some injury issues early in the season, but the team was just playing horrible basketball. And then we had an interesting thing happen about 3 weeks ago. I didn't see it when it happened, but it was called to my attention that Blaine Taylor, on his coach's show, had appeared to be, how should I phrase this? Stewed. That would be one way to describe it. He was incoherent and rambling, and it was really weird. And unfortunately, Blaine Taylor does have some alcohol issues in his past. Nothing much after that, but then a rumor comes out that I think it was the next game after that, he showed up at like a half an hour before the game, and was also in less than ideal condition. Next day he got fired. They are not really saying much about it at Old Dominion, but that's the story. In the 3 games since he's been fired, Old Dominion's only 1-2, but they've played a completely different brand of basketball in those 3 games. One was an overtime loss, the other one lose at the buzzer, and they won the other game, won it going away, in fact. This is a different basketball team now. It's very possible that they like the assistant who's the interim coach and would like to see him get the job full time. Whether that's going to happen or not, I have no idea, but sometimes that does happen. because oftentimes assistant coaches are closer to the players than the head coach is. Certainly, it's a nice audition for the assistant right now. William and Mary, they've made a habit of losing tough games all year long. Why is it going to change now? They just keep doing it. I mean, if it's close late, William and Mary finds a way to lose the game. Old Dominion's not going to be laying much here. I think you go with the Monarchs, and you have a very good chance to cash a winning ticket. So Old Dominion for my best bet. Don't forget to check out the NBA version of Pro Line as we head into the All-Star break. Some pretty good things to talk about as far as the association is concerned. We'll also take a look at what's happening coming out of the All-Star break. And then we'll be back again next week with another college edition of Pro Line. So meanwhile, for John Creighton and for Jim Feist, I'm Dave Cokin. We thank you very much for watching, and win a bunch of money this weekend. Make the calls. You'll do that easy. See you later.